PLAYERUNKNOW'S Battleground, or as most refer to it, PUBG, is an exciting and thrilling multiplayer battle royale game that's as fun as it is janky and unoptimized. Get 100 players and drop them to an island as the borders of the island close in on the players, forcing them to confront each other, and well, you have a hell of a time. PUBG skips out on the story and puts adrenaline-fueling multiplayer gameplay at the forefront. When you boot up the game, you'll see a render of your character on screen. This is your in-game avatar that you can customize both in clothing and in body features. Clothing for your character is unlocked using BP, or battle points earned from playing the game. The BP can be used to buy crates that unlock new pieces of clothing. There's also crates that offer more rare aesthetics that require a key to open them. The keys cost real money though, and it's the main form of microtransaction within the game. Considering these pieces of clothing are just cosmetic and get covered up by backpacks and body vests once you actually start looting for armor in the game, I don't really mind it too much. With that said, microtransactions are still microtransactions and it kinda sucks to see them in the game. As for game modes, there's pretty much just one sole game mode in variations of party size and camera view. You can play alone, in teams of 2, or in a squad ranging from 3 to 4 players. You can also choose to play in third-person view or first-person view. Third-person view starts off the match in third-person view, but at any point in the game you can switch between first and third-person view. So the setting doesn't really matter too much as it does in first-person view. The first-person view setting forces you to stay in first-person view for the whole game, and while it can help you with combat aiming, it can also make things like driving vehicles and keeping an eye on your surroundings much more difficult. It's certainly a fun challenge to jump into at times. At the start of a match, you spawn into a lobby where you can test out different guns and mess around for a period of 20 seconds to a minute. This is essentially the closest thing you'll have to a tutorial or a practice mode. Basically a place where your actions don't really have any consequences and you can just learn the game. This is also where we start to see the pretty bare bones system laid out with PUBG. It may be officially out of early access now, but it's not a complete filling game in terms of polish just yet. Very much how Minecraft was missing a tutorial system for a crafting system when it originally launched. You learn how to play the game through action and through word of mouth online rather than in-game tutorials. This is very much a game you'll have to look up YouTube videos for or search forums for to understand how everything works if you don't want to learn through trial and error. Now at the time of this review, there's a total of 2 maps that are playable. Erangel was the original map and it's a fictional island near Russia. The environment ranges from long open plain fields to forests and abandoned military bases and civilian buildings. The weather varies from clear skies, foggy misty mornings, and rainy mornings. This map offers enough variety paired with the randomization of spawning items that it makes everything feel distinct to the point where not one strategy will always work. The second and new map is Miramar, a fictional desert type island that takes place in South America. Where the original map is more flatland, Miramar is full of bumpy mountain terrains and high elevated buildings that keep the map more vertical in terms of structure. The 2 current maps provide a nice balance, and though 2 maps seems like a small number, they have yet to bore me because of the gameplay that keeps me coming back. However, more maps are planned for the future as this game will keep on growing as time goes on, with the next map planned for the end of 2018 and it being winter themed. Once a match starts, you'll find yourself in an airplane flying over the map the game randomly chose for you. Sadly, you can't choose which map you want to play on when randomly matchmaking online. Another flaw of the bare bones system. Anyway, as you hover over the map, you can pull up an overlay of the terrain and choose where you want to drop. This is immediately where chaos ensues because varying on the location and the game, you'll either drop in a pretty empty spot or a spot where a bunch of people are going to drop. It's always a surprise how the match will start off, but it's also partially up to the player. If you want to quickly jump into a gunfight, you'll jump to something like the military base or Pubg, 2 of the biggest and hottest spots in the original map. If you want to avoid conflict, you can try jumping towards one of the smaller, less dense areas. It'll mean you'll have to do a bit more running around for looting items, but most likely you'll avoid encountering other players for a few minutes. Once you're on the map, a circle energy field will appear on the map and this is where your battleground is. It gets increasingly smaller in waves and if you're outside of the circle, you'll start to take damage that only gets increasingly worse as the circle narrows down. This is the progression system of the match that keeps things moving and exciting. All while that circle is closing in from time to time, you're supposed to look around buildings and sheds for things to loot. This includes guns, health packs, melee weapons, and armor. Where other games like PUBG use a crafting system, PUBG skips out on all that and gets right into the gameplay. You don't need to craft a medkit or a Molotov, they're just all pre-made. Just spawn randomly somewhere on the map. I personally think that's where a lot of the fun of PUBG comes through. You don't need to spend 30 minutes to an hour just building up your arsenal and character for a minute-long exhilarating fight. PUBG picks up the pace and provides the same rush feeling and lets you quickly jump into another match as soon as you're out of the current one. Starting off as a mod of military simulators, PUBG does take its weapon use a bit more seriously than some other games just like it. Switching an SMG from single fire to auto fire doesn't guarantee a kill from a distant firefight. Recoil is very much a real thing here, and it makes it a bit hard to hit targets from afar. Bullet drops with snipers is another example you have to take into account for. Eventually, those still alive out of the original 100 players that fell on the map will be forced into close quarters where you have to fight to be number 1 or get a chicken dinner. If you've made it this far, this is where things get really crazy, as the buildup of the probably 30 to 45 minute match comes to a close at the last 10 to 15 players just go at it. That sense of excitement never dies down as you get closer to your chicken dinner. Likewise, when you finally do get first place, you know you've earned it. There's a quick but still rewarding buildup to it, and it leaves you not only satisfied with this match, but eager to jump into the next one. Now, it's no secret that PUBG is a fun game, but it's also not a secret just how broken the game can be. Despite it being officially out of early access now, things are still a bit busted at times, but definitely improved from its early access days. The menu system and overall UI has been vastly updated, and it looks much better, much more finished. Things like the map view of the terrain have some depth to it finally, and it's not just flat. So yeah, things look much better now since the game went to version 1.0, but it's still not a masterpiece in terms of the visuals. PUBG is a very taxing game to run, not because it's beautiful, but it's just not optimized for PC hardware. This means that even if you run a pretty high-end gaming PC, the game can still struggle to maintain a solid 60 FPS. My GTX 970 and i7-4790K can run the game at 1080p high settings at a near perfect 60 FPS. Even with more powerful hardware though, you'll definitely run into loading issues or chugs at times. Occasionally the game will take a while to load in textures despite your settings being on high. Additionally, loading times for a lobby can take anywhere between 10 seconds to even a minute, and it just varies on the lobby. The list of visual bugs go on, seeing through your teammate's head when turning the camera just right, falling through a mountain that registers as a death. There's simply just too many bugs to list. Let's just say when it comes to visuals, much like the fun core gameplay, it's very bare bones. Outside of the music in the lobby, there really isn't any other music in the game. The main menu tune is alright. I actually prefer the music in the early access lobby rather than the current new track in the official release. Maybe I've just become too accustomed to the original music, but I feel like this new track feels a bit out of place. As for sound design, I actually think the game does a pretty good job. I love the use of audio in the game, like gunshots flying by and being able to determine the location of the shot using my pair of headphones. When firing your gun, they sound strong and punchy and accurate to the machine you're firing. The one thing that does throw me off a bit is the bombs in this game. Sometimes you'll see red zones, areas where bombs will just randomly fall from the sky. In early access, the game had a much more pleasant sounding bomb, if that makes sense. They got the message across that you were being bombed. These new sound effects sound like they're nukes falling from the sky. They're absurdly loud mixed into the gameplay to the point where they just overpower everything. On the bright side, they do make me fear for my life when I'm running through a red zone, but I do think they go a bit overboard at times. PLAYERUNKNOWN'S Battleground is a fantastic and enjoyable time that's still very buggy despite it being out of early access. Being out of early access though, the game does feel a bit more stable, not as stable as I'd like it to be certainly, but more stable than it was before. Where my current machine once struggled to maintain a 1080p high setting 60 FPS, it's there about 99% of the time now. However, I still have moments where the game chugs to load up a match or textures just fail to load when I'm near an object. There's progress to be made on this game, and though it still feels like an early access game at points, it's one of the most fun games I played this year and one that keeps me coming back for more. It's definitely worth the $30 price tag even at its unfinished state so long as you could run it on your PC. That does it for my review of PUBG on PC, and now I know some people on Twitter have been asking me to review the Xbox One version, and I do have it, but I don't plan to review it until it leaves early access like I did with the PC version. With that said, PUBG on Xbox One is very buggy right now, much worse than the PC release even on the Xbox One X. The Xbox Early Access version seems like a rushed project to get the new holiday game out in time for the release of the Xbox One X, and it definitely shows. If you're on Xbox One, whether it's the original, the One S, or the One X, and have an itch to try PUBG on Xbox One because you've heard so many great things from PC players, I say just wait. I feel like the experience you get on Xbox One right now would tarnish your experience and expectations of the game overall. It's a completely subpar and at times unplayable experience even if you have the $500 Xbox One, which was the most shocking part to me. Stay tuned though, because once the Xbox One version leaves early access, I will do a full review on it just like I did for the PC version. Thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.